adding something to the catalog, I found the easiest way is just go to add title from your catalog screen. And then normally I would search by ISBN, but if it's something that's not coming up, you could search by title. So in Lloyd's example, if it was a different edition of a book, you could search for the title to bring up all editions of that book. And those of you who catalog textbooks probably come across this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure I'm doing it right and not destroying somebody else's record in the process.
So remember, when you are cataloging, the red house means that it's an in-house record. You want to add to in-house records whenever possible. Otherwise, what happens is we end up with master entries for multiple master entries for one item, which makes things a little confusing. The A+ record is the Follett record. So those are ones they provide us, and then it will be searching Z sources at the bottom here, and you can click Get Z Results. That sometimes takes a little bit of time. And if you're impatient like me, you can just sit here and keep clicking it. Usually I have something else going on so that I can come back to it. But you can see it came up with one record from LOC, so you could import that record if you wanted. Somebody had asked me at one point about importing records from outside and pulling it in. You can do it. It's pretty difficult to find a catalog that will let you do it, and so the times that I have done it, probably in the time that I spent finding something I could export and importing it, I would have been better off just taking the first record I found and manually inputting it. So I don't recommend doing that. So then you pick which item.
Yeah, Library of Congress does it sometimes. You can usually import most of theirs.
Well, you shouldn't have to go, because what they want to do is if it's not in here as a Z source. So when it's in here as a Z source, it's easier to do. But if you find a catalog that isn't in there as a Z source and you want to export it, like, it has to be the right type of catalog. They have to offer it in the right format, and it's just a lot of shenanigans. So obviously you want to use the Z sources if they're there over the A+, because A+ is going to default to Sears copycat or categories. Sorry, I've been off all week, so my brain's a little mushy. It defaults to Sears instead of Library of Congress subject headings. So if you can use one of the Z sources, that's better. So I'm going to go ahead and select this record. So then when we're in here, you can go in, and if there's something wrong with the record, you would edit it. So you want to make sure you're 100% sure that there's really something wrong with that record, because if you have a slightly different item and you edit it, now you've edited it for everyone. But what Lloyd is saying, if he has something that's a little bit different, so say he's got the next edition of the book, or when if I'm doing faculty supplements, I'll often take the textbook and then I'll copy it to do the DVDs or copy it to do the supplemental materials. You're going to duplicate the title.
Yep.
So then that creates a copy of it. It's like a save as, essentially. So we've left the original, we're creating a copy, and you can always see up in your breadcrumbs, because sometimes, you know, when you're doing a lot of these, you forget where you're at, or did I actually do it right? Before you save, so you're gonna, when you click Save Title down here, you can check up here, and in your breadcrumbs it'll say Duplicate Title. And so then you know that you've actually duplicated it. So let's cancel this. So when you are adding copies, when you go in here, you are going to give it a call number. I think, Alyssa, this is what you were saying, that you were having problems, that you wanted to change all of the call numbers on items on a record, right? That's
let's say just something got updated and you had 8 copies of a textbook and they changed a call number or something weird like that. Yeah.
Okay. I think
then you have to do each one individually.
I think you do have to do each one individually. I'm going to look into that more, and I'll let you know next week if I find a better way to do that.
Yeah, it's just time consuming unless you do the batch. For the batch, I'm a little nervous about, because once you do it, you can't undo it. That's what it said to me.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just do it individual for now.
Yeah, some of that I don't worry too much about, because, I mean, really, if you changed 8 call numbers, would it really be that horrible to change them back? Probably not.
Well, no, but I'm worried. Well, if it was only 8, but sometimes it says the entire batch, so I don't know if there's more maybe lurking around. That's why I would think to use it, but that's fine. But sometimes the bigger textbooks, Julie buys like a lot of them. So, yeah, so, all right, that's fine.
Okay, so then you're going to give it the call number, obviously, assign a circulation type, and then here's where we can add our copy categories. So when you click on update, it's going to pull up your list of categories. Remember that we want to assign it to every category that makes sense for this textbook. So if you have multiple categories that make sense for the book, then you could add it into multiple areas. So sometimes, like the medical books, it might make sense for the bachelor's in health services, administrative assisting, medical assisting, nursing. Sometimes it'll apply to multiple areas. So you can have it in multiple categories. Speaking of textbooks though, because unless you are purchasing textbooks using library funds, I know we get our textbooks as publisher donations, we call them, they shouldn't get a copy category because we haven't purchased them.
Correct. We don't do that.
Okay.
They're only for the general collection that is purchased with money. Yeah.
What I did do to kind of keep track of that stuff is I did make a category that says publisher donation. I made it a restricted category, so you can see it's got this green check mark, so that those items I can keep track of, but they don't show up when a external user uses the catalog. So you can see up here when you add category, like if I just want to add a category of my stuff, maybe I'm compiling a list of things that I want my students to use for a research paper, but I don't want them, I'm not ready for it to show up yet. I can leave this box that says restricted, and then I can add my category, and now you can see it's going to show up, and I can add things into that category that way. So most of the time, as you're maintaining your catalog, this is how you're going to add items into the catalog, is by adding the category as you add the copies. And then you click OK, and then it's got your copy categories there. And then I'm going to save copies. So now once you've got it here, if you duplicate, so I know a lot of times when I have multiple items, you know, if I came in here, okay, I had textbooks from the prior term, but I needed to order more, I just duplicate a copy, it will pull forward all of your copy categories when you do that. If you want to edit a copy category, sometimes I've been adding items and I want to go in and edit or remove them. So the one way to remove them is if you are looking at your copies, you can go into the edit copy area and then just update the categories and you can remove it. So I can remove that from my research paper category, click OK. Now it just shows publisher donations. Make sense? Everybody still with me?
But you know, you do have to save that change, right? You have to preserve it.
Yeah, so then I save it and now it's all saved and it's ready to go.
Gotcha.
So